What's up, guys? Here's my instant reaction after just watching UFC 220, and it literally just ended. Just went straight to recording. Man, what did you say about this event? It was an okay event. It wasn't the best event I've ever seen. Some good fights, a lot of fights, especially from the fighters we don't know about. They didn't really show themselves over the bigger fighters, except for Calvin Kattar versus Shane Burgos. That was my favorite fight of the whole card by far. Such a great fight. But we're gonna start with that Stipe and Ngannou fight. Wow, that was crazy. I mean, especially the first round. That was one of the most wild fights I've seen in a long time. And you know about heavyweight fights, if they go past that second, third round, I mean, it's not going to be the funnest fight to watch. And that's what it kind of was too. Francis came out heated in that first round, trying to bulldoze through Stipe. When I saw him come out like that, when I saw him actually come out in a southpaw stance, inch forward at him, bring his hips forward, I knew he was going to go for that high kick. And when I saw that high kick go, and Stipe blocks it, of course, but you saw Stipe starting to move back, and that showed me that Stipe was going to be the matador in this fight, for at least for the early parts, which is a basic and very effective game plan. When he threw that left high kick, and his whole body shifted forward almost like he was about to fall on his face, and then he started winging out punches behind that with no technique. I didn't like Francis' chances after that. Don't fight someone like Stipe like that. Stipe is really precise. He's a master at the fundamentals, especially for a heavyweight. And his punches come right down the middle. And Stipe was playing the matador. Once I saw him come out as a heated bull, Francis, I knew this fight was not going to be good for him. He could catch Stipe, and he did catch him a couple times and shook him up a little bit. But Stipe was never really in those shots. I mean, he caught Stipe at the end of the punches when Stipe was moving out, especially, or when he was trying to cover up. That stuff can happen, but if the puncher's chance, quote unquote puncher's chance, would not have happened, I didn't see a way Francis was going to win doing that. I don't know what his game plan really was. I mean, to come out there and just go right through Stipe like that, he wasn't even throwing straight punches at all. His uppercuts were winging, of course, they always are, but he didn't set them up at all. He was throwing them from a distance, which he never really does. Every single time he threw that uppercut, whether it would be with the Henrique fight, the Arlovski fight, the Overeem fight, he always set it up with his footwork and behind punches. He always masked it. In this fight, he was throwing it from a distance. Very untechnical approach, and it was shocking for me to see him come out like that because he didn't fight Overeem like that. He didn't fight Arlovski like that. He didn't fight any guy in the UFC like that, trying to run through them like that. The only time I ever seen Francis Ngannou fight like this was before the UFC. And if you see my breakdown, you see how wild he was. I mean, I got some people saying you can't compare Francis to then because he's evolved so much, and we thought that, right? He's shown evolution in the UFC, but before that, he was winging out those punches. He fought almost the exact same way. He almost went back in time when he fought Stipe. I wouldn't say disrespect, but it's a little bit disrespectful from Francis to come out at Stipe like that, thinking he was going to go right through him without any difficulty. He didn't do that to anybody else. He didn't do that to Overeem. He didn't try to run through him like that, but he tried to do it to the best guy he's ever fought, to the heavyweight champion of the world. And he did say that he kind of underestimated Stipe, and I kind of thought so as well. When I saw him come out like that, I'm like, why is he doing this? There's no reason for him to do this. He's going to lose this fight doing that. And Stipe had a really good game plan. Stipe did what I thought Kane would probably do to Francis Ngannou. Get in his face, get in close in fight, redirect for the single legs, not stay outside the reach of Ngannou, but measure the distance, because you can get caught by something you don't even think is going to catch you. Land some leg kicks as well. Break down the bigger man. Break him down from the body to the legs. And when you see that opening, when you see his hands down and he tries to go for those looping shots, come down the middle with those straight ones. I mean, that's what Stipe was doing. Stipe landed a lot of 1-2s, especially in the mid-rounds. Early in the fight, landed a couple of them. And those single legs, man, that's really what he was going to. That's why I pointed out in my breakdown of Stipe. He always goes for those single legs, especially on those long fighters. Francis really came out long in that first round. Despite how wild he was, he kept that long stance when he wasn't throwing anything. And that single leg was right there for Stipe. You've seen the strength of Ngannou. I mean, Ngannou was fending off a lot of what Stipe was doing, not with technique, but with just pure power and strength. Stipe had a hard time in the beginning trying to control Ngannou a little bit. I mean, he did get him down, and he was controlling him at times, especially when he got in side control at one time. I think that was in the first or second round. I have to go back and look at it. And especially against the cage, when he got Ngannou down and Ngannou would power out, posting on his hand and also his knee, Stipe didn't waste any energy in that area. I mean, all he did was lean on top of Ngannou, put his forearm on top of his head, push him down and wear out his muscles. And Stipe was putting almost no effort. All the effort was on Ngannou. He was carrying his own weight. He's tired, and he's carrying Stipe's weight. And his muscles, not just Stipe's weight, but Stipe's pushing on him. He's leaning on top of him. It's almost dead weight with added pressure. That's a lot for a big guy like Francis, who has to fuel those muscles. He only has so much time before he starts gassing out. And what we did find out about Francis, his cardio, yes, it's not the greatest. Not just that, it's his ability to consume it and ability to know when to explode. Look at Tyron Woodley. Tyron Woodley doesn't have the best cardio. He just knows when to explode and when not to, which makes it look like he has really good cardio. That's what Francis had to do, because Francis was the one controlling the early rounds. He was the one putting pressure on Stipe, and he could have just stalked him. He didn't have to go through at him like that. He would be the one almost dictating the pace, right? And force Stipe to come at him. That's what I thought Francis would do in the fight. Not just come at him like that. But I don't know, he got overzealous, it seemed like, and he just tried to knock out Stipe. And that's the wrong guy to do that to. And even when Stipe got caught a couple times and got shooken up by those punches, he recovered so quickly. There was that one time, I think he got caught by a right overhand. I mean, he got shook up and he backed up, and then he redirected for the single leg and got it. As Ngannou was overzealous for the knockout. He saw he hurt Stipe and he tried to wing out another hook or overhand. The fight IQ as well. Stipe has such a high fight IQ in that fight. I stand by this. I think Stipe is now the greatest heavyweight of all time. He's broken the record. He's beaten his list of competition, the list of heavyweights that he's fought is better than probably anybody else's. He knocks almost everybody out. He has the skills, the technique. I mean, everything about him. He's just almost trumps everybody else. I think he's the greatest heavyweight of all time. If not, he's definitely in that discussion. Maybe with Fedor. I don't see anybody else really in there. Fedor and him. Who should these guys fight next? I think Stipe has to fight Kane. There's nobody else. Nobody. Wait for Kane. This is a tough fight. I mean, he took some damage. Just heal up. Wait for Kane to heal up as well. For Ngannou, I'd like Ngannou to fight maybe Fabricio Verdum or someone around that ranking. Maybe Junior Dos Santos or someone in the top 5. I think Ngannou's the kind of guy to learn from these experiences because, 4 years ago, he wasn't even an MMA fighter. He has a lot to learn. And can I talk about something? That chin of Ngannou's insane. He took everything Stipe just threw at him and ate everything, right? That's insane. That is crazy. And Stipe's recovery is crazy. I mean, he got hit by big shots as well. We all know about the statements about Ngannou's power. And then we go to DC and Volkan. This was also an interesting fight, and it's another thing where we didn't know exactly what the challengers were going to bring. We didn't know their overall game. We know about DC, right? And this fight was kind of what a lot of people expected. A very tough, dangerous first round for DC. I didn't think Volkan would come out there and try to knock DC out like that right away. I guess that was his best chance. But him and Ngannou, man, they just wanted to knock the best guy they ever fought out right away. They want this glorious moment. And when they chase it like that, I mean, that's going to be tough. Because these are the most skilled guys, and they can catch those openings right away. But Volkan had very weird footwork, I noticed right away. His angles that he takes, very awkward timing. He switches his feet a lot, gets them close, spreads his legs far apart at other times. It's almost like it's random footwork. When he blitzed the opponent, he's really good at cutting off on an angle, and he did that in this fight. And it gave DC a hard time of actually timing anything early in the first round. He blitzed him a couple times. He tried to land those punches. He did land a lot of them, especially those short-range punches. And DC took them all. DC's chin's insane. I mean, he never even looked like he was hurt. His ability to just take shots is crazy. It's crazy. You need a head kick from Jones or something to knock this guy out. But you've seen a lot of times DC did roll with a lot of the punches. He moved with the punches, especially that overhand right of Volkan. You would see DC actually throw a shot. Volkan would try to counter him with that right overhand, and DC would lean down with the uppercut and go for the single leg. He did that multiple times, and Volkan did fend off some of the takedowns. He had good balance, especially early on. He was so aware of that takedown threat. But you saw what DC wanted to go for at one point. He wanted to go for that high crotch. Volkan had a good balance. He was pushing down the head, bringing his leg away, and he probably thought that was enough. But man, DC has so many ways of setting up for that single leg. He can trip your other leg. He can lift you and dump you. He can do so many things. That's what he did out there. And once it got to the ground, that's when the differential in skill was huge. Volkan's grappling was almost non-existent compared to DC's. There was a point where DC got full mount instantly. He went down on Volkan into full mount. That is crazy. I've never seen that before. And he pretty much did whatever he wanted on top of Volkan. And Volkan didn't really look tired. I mean, he slowed down, especially in that second round. But it's crazy to think about because he went to seek out Daniel Cormier's chin in that first round. So that's impressive. And Volkan has a lot to learn as well. That was only his fourth fight in the UFC. DC is definitely one of the greatest. He's probably, I would say, second greatest light heavyweight of all time. He's only lost to John Jones, and that's nothing to really look down on because John Jones is one of the greatest ever. Possibly the greatest ever, as many will argue. And he's beating everybody else. He's beat every single person he's ever fought besides Jones. His next fight has to be Gustafsson, and then I think he takes a heavyweight fight if he wins that. If he loses that, I think he'll retire, but I think if he beats Gustafsson, I think he might take a heavyweight fight or something. Just a fun fight and retire. Excellent career for Cormier. He's one of the greats. He's one of the all-time greats. And then Volkan has a lot to learn, you know. It's not really a bad loss for him. Maybe fight someone like Shogun or maybe Glover Teixeira. I think Glover Teixeira would be a fun fight. And then we go to my favorite fight of the whole card. Calvin Kattar versus Shane Burgos. Wow, what can you say about this fight? One of the best displays of boxing in an MMA fight I've ever seen. These guys standing toe-to-toe. Their distance was boxing range. When have you seen that? I think everybody knows the difference in the distance between boxing and MMA. It's huge, right? Generally. Both of their lead foot were crossing each other. I mean, you never see that in MMA. There's so much risk in doing that, but they were content with just boxing, just throwing punches at each other. Burgos had that leaning in stance, and that told me right away he's going to have trouble with that jab. I mean, it looked like he was trying to counter that right hand, maybe slip on the outside and counter him or something, but he had trouble with that jab. He was composed even when he get hit by it many, many times. He was in there at all times pressuring Kattar, even when he was getting hit by the jab, which is crazy. Later on in the second round, he was timing that jab pretty well, countering him to the body especially. He was ripping shots to the body right away, right off that jab, right through that opening as Kattar would put his hand up to his head to come right under that elbow with the left hook. I mean, excellent boxing on both of them. Kattar was more of a basic, fundamental, textbook style of boxing, while Shane Burgos was trying to use more elusive movement, counter shots, and just pressure, right? Kattar did a really good job seeking out that right hand as well, like you saw that led up to the finish. Burgos had really good body work, especially some of his straight right hands were landing. He kept his hands really low, though, and that's what got him caught a couple times by some hard shots that he should not be taking. Kattar, I did not see this coming from him. If you look at his Andre Fili fight, he really didn't look like this. He wasn't like a boxer or anything else. He didn't show anything to this level in boxing. And Shane Burgos, that's where he excels at. I was very surprised and very impressed by Calvin Kattar, and I'm really looking forward to his future fights, as well as Shane Burgos. Both these guys, their stock raises in my eyes. They put on a really good fight, really skilled guys, especially for where they're ranked. I mean, their skill level is easily top 15, both of them. When you saw that finish from Calvin Kattar, I mean, he just stepped in, threw that jab as Shane Burgos to lower his levels, and that was something very odd to see from Shane Burgos because he wasn't doing that the whole fight. He just did it that one moment. Calvin Kattar came in and threw that jab, measured the distance for the right hand, and followed the head of Shane Burgos behind the jab. The jab was to measure the distance and get the precision and timing for that right hand. Landed it, but it seemed like Shane Burgos wanted to pull on the punch and shoulder roll it. He got the distance really off. I mean, the distance was just enough to get him right over the top and got him a little bit off balance, and you saw him actually stick his tongue out when he was leaning forward, right? You know, that's dangerous, man. I mean, if you're sticking your tongue out like that, that shows that you're not really tightening up for the next shot. And that's what it showed. And Kattar actually rebounded off that right hand. He leaned in, right in distance for the open uppercut. And man, that was pretty much it. You gotta be tensed up. You gotta be ready for those shots. You can't just stick your tongue out, open your jaw, do something because those shots are gonna come quick. Burgos' eyes were not even on Kattar. So you're not really gonna see these coming. The next thing you're gonna see is an uppercut, a fist into your face. But man, I'm really looking forward to both of their fights. For Calvin Kattar, I would love to see Calvin Kattar actually fight Doo Ho Choi. I think it'd be an excellent fight. Shane Burgos, just fight someone outside the top 15. Try to build your way into the top 15 because this fight would have been a big opening for his entry into the top 15. The Jean Vellante and Barros fight, I think that's how I pronounce it. Well, not the greatest fight. I mean, definitely the worst fight of the card, but it was strange because Vellante wanted to exchange. He wanted to brawl. Barros was pretty much running on the cage looking for that one shot, right? And that pretty much led to Vellante having more output. He was controlling the octagon. He was the aggressor, and these are the old rules. Remember that. These are the old rules. I do not like the old rules at all for many reasons. He was running around on the cage, and Jean Vellante had control. He had the aggression, and he had the more output, and he landed the bigger shots. And that pretty much won him the fight, just off that. Just the game plan of Barros made Villante win. And I really like Chris Weidman's corner advice. He told Villante, stop just winging out that right hand. Set it up behind the jab. Use the jab. Start to be confident in that jab. And you saw it, man. It worked wonders. He would set up that right hand behind the jab. It would be way more effective because he's pretty much measuring it instead of just winging it out there. And he didn't even use it offensively. He used it defensively as well, as Barros tried to get on him. And he would just stick him with that jab, get him the back up again. Really good work by Gian Villante. And people just do not want to engage him. He's really tough. He has a durable chin, big power, and he is willing to take one. The only guy that really fought like that with him is Shogun. Gian Villante, I would like to see him fight maybe the loser of OSP and Ilir Latifi. I think it'd be a good fight for him. And then Thomas Almeida Rothbaum was an excellent fight as well, as many thought it would be. The winner of that fight was really gonna come down to who was gonna be the aggressor. Early on, Rothbaum was the aggressor, pumping out that jab, especially getting the back up. And Thomas Almeida wasn't really throwing a whole lot. He threw a couple leg kicks, and that guard of his, man, like I said it before, that guard of his is always open to those straight shots or the shots around the guard because he does have his hands always up, but he doesn't move anywhere. So the openings are always there, right? And he just found that right hand every single time. And then Thomas Almeida started firing back. And the momentum kept swinging back and forth in the fight because of this. Almeida would go forward on Rothbaum, and then he was having success, landing the leg kicks and everything like that. And then Rothbaum found his distance, stepped in that inside leg kick of Thomas Almeida, and that's dangerous when you do that because when you throw that inside leg kick, you can't move anywhere else. You're on one foot, and you're not going to be able to slip anywhere, really. You're not going to move your hips that much, you're not going to move your head that much on that instant moment. So it's going to be tough, man. You're going to have to bank on your ability, on one of your mechanics to work here to slip this shot or block it because it's going to come at you. It's going to come hard. And that's pretty much what happened. Rothbaum came in that inside leg kick, threw the jab in his face, measured for the right hand. That's what started the end of it. Rothbaum did really well. I'd like to see him fight maybe someone like John Dodson or something. I think it'd be an excellent fight. Thomas Almeida needs to fight someone maybe in the top 10, the top 15, or probably even outside the top 15. I mean, he's taken a lot of punishment. Every loss he's had, he's been hurt, he's been rocked in his fights. You know, he has to change something about his defense because he's a purely offensive fighter. Work on some of those defensive skills, even the basic ones, because he's lacking some of them. So yeah, man, it was a pretty good card overall. Prelims, nothing really too stand out about them, but I did catch some of the Bellator fights. I caught the Michael Chandler fight, which not too much happened. The top pressure was a little bit too much. He did get caught by a question, or not question mark. John McCarthy said a question mark kick. It was actually a hook kick that stunned him a little bit, stunned Michael Chandler, but the top pressure was a little bit too much. And then the Rory McDonald and Douglas Lima fight, slow pace fight. A lot of what Rory McDonald used to do, freeze the fight down, make it really slow to his game plan where he can just time your shots, pick at you with the jab and stuff like that. But the striking was mostly for Douglas Lima. I did miss the fourth and most of the fifth round, so I know in the fourth round he was kicking the legs out from under him and stuff, and that's what that huge hematoma came from, I think. The overall game of Rory McDonald really showcased, especially that wrestling and the top pressure. Douglas Lima is good, though. Douglas Lima is really good, and that really showed that he is top 10 UFC caliber. I would even argue top 5. Then you go into that Chael and Rampage fight. Not the greatest fight either. I missed actually most of it because of the main event of the Francis and Stipe fight. So what I saw from it, Chael was actually standing a lot in the first round, landing that left hand, using the speed advantage, his footwork. Rampage looked really slow out there. Powerful, he looked strong, especially when they clinched up. He would just throw Chael into the cage. Yeah, but Chael just doing what Chael usually does. So yeah, man, it was a pretty good night of fights overall. I mean, a lot was going on. This whole Francis Stipe thing is finally done. The heavyweight division is not going to be great now. Francis was really the ticket for the heavyweight division to renew itself, give these guys another chance at the title. Now that Stipe is still the champion, Kane is left. I mean, who are you going to give next? For Verdum, maybe? I don't know. So yeah, not too good for the heavyweight division. But what'd you guys think about John McCarthy's commentating? I thought it was pretty good. He did get some things mixed up. But it was his first day in a bigger organization, I think. I know I heard some people say he's done it before. I've never heard him do it before. So I thought he was pretty good, especially for his first time here. So yeah, guys. So that's pretty much it for the night of the fights. Tomorrow or Monday, definitely latest Monday, I'm going to have my breakdown on one of the fights that happened this weekend. So be on the lookout for that. I hope you guys enjoy this. I don't do this a whole lot. I almost never do it. I only think I did it one time. So comment below if you guys actually want me to do this. Give my reaction after the fight. I could possibly, I don't like to do this, but I could possibly do a live stream. But I get a little bit paranoid about that. I don't want anything to go wrong while I'm doing it. So yeah, comment below if you guys actually want me to do that. And then I have some other videos I'm planning on coming out. So again, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.